The secret child no one knows about, a sister wives mystery. What if everything you thought you knew about the Brown family was wrong? What if beneath years of television cameras, family gatherings, and public confessions, lay a secret so explosive, so carefully guarded, it could change the entire sister wives narrative forever? Well, today we're talking about the deep, dark mystery that has been whispered about in online forums, hinted at through cryptic social media posts, and allegedly covered up for more than a decade. This is the story of the secret child. Let me take you back, way back, before the family split, before the Las Vegas mansions, before Robyn became the legal wife, back to a time when the Brown family was still finding its footing in the public eye. It's 2011. Sister Wives just hit the air, and America is getting its first real look at modern polygamy. Kody Brown, with his flowing hair and charismatic personality, introduces us to his wives, Meri, Janelle, Christine, and the newest addition, Robyn. But here's where things get interesting. During season 2, there's a moment most viewers completely missed. Episode 7, at around the 23-minute mark. The family is discussing their children, running through the names and ages. Kody stumbles, stops mid-sentence, and looks directly at the camera before changing the subject entirely. Something flashes across Meri's face. Is it recognition? Is it fear? It's on screen for exactly 3.2 seconds before production cuts away to a confessional about something completely unrelated. What was Kody about to say? And why did the editors feel the need to redirect that moment? The evidence mounts. Now, I know what you're thinking. This could be nothing. A simple mistake. Kody has a lot of children to keep track of. And you'd be right. If this were an isolated incident. But it's not. Let's examine the patterns, the inconsistencies, the mathematical impossibilities that have haunted this family's timeline for over a decade. Evidence number 1. The financial anomaly. In 2012, during the family's bankruptcy filings, yes, those very public, very documented bankruptcy filings, there's a line item that doesn't add up, an extra dependent claimed on Kody's paperwork that disappears in subsequent years. When court officials asked him about it at the time, the claim was written off as a clerical error. But was it? Evidence number 2, the missing years. Between 2009 and 2011, there is a period where Robyn's whereabouts become fuzzy. She isn't in Utah with the family. She is supposedly in Montana dealing with her divorce from her first husband, David Jessup. But here's the thing, according to Montana court records, her divorce was finalized back in 2007. So where was Robyn for those 2 years? And why does she become noticeably uncomfortable whenever the time period is mentioned in early episodes? Evidence number 3, the photograph. In 2015, a Reddit user posted an image that was claimed to be taken at a Brown family gathering in Utah. The photo was grainy, clearly taken from a distance, but it showed what appeared to be a teenage child standing between Janelle and Christine, someone who has never appeared on the show. The post was deleted within hours. The user's account was deactivated. The photograph vanished from the internet, as if somebody wanted it erased. Theories and speculation. So let's explore the possibilities. If there is a secret child, and I'm not saying there is definitively, but if there is, who are they and why would the family keep them hidden? Theory 1, the biological bombshell. A few theorists believe the secret child is Kody's biological offspring from prior to his marriage to Meri. Maybe a relationship from younger years that led to a pregnancy, a child who was given up for adoption or raised by relatives outside of the family dynamic. This would explain Meri's uncomfortable reactions when the subject of Kody's past comes up. It would explain why certain years of his life are glossed over in the show's narrative. And it would explain why there might be financial obligations that don't quite match the family's public story. Theory 2, the sister wives scandal. Here is where it truly gets complicated. What if one of the wives had a child from a relationship outside the plural marriage? In fundamentalist communities, this would be considered the ultimate betrayal not just of the husband, but of the entire family structure. Could one of the wives have hidden a pregnancy? Might there be a child being raised quietly, off camera, protected not only from the judgment of their community, but also that of the viewing public? The timeline would suggest this could very well be. There are gaps, some quite significant ones, in which certain wives were conspicuous in their absence from filming or who gained and lost weight in manners unaccounted for by on-camera action. Theory 3. The protection protocol. The most heartbreaking theory, perhaps. What if there was a child with special needs, a medical condition, or another circumstance that the family decided to protect from the harsh glare of reality television? We know the Browns are protective of their kids, so what do we really know? We saw them blur faces, withhold names, and limit screen time for the younger kids. But what if there's one child they've completely protected? This theory picks up steam when you consider that many of the older Brown children have spoken of siblings who value their privacy and choose not to be on the show. But the numbers never quite add up to account for all of the vague references. But here's where the story takes its darkest turn. The Robyn connection. Now let's talk about Robyn, the fourth wife, the favorite, the woman who changed everything. When Robyn joined the family in 2010, she came into the family with 3 children from a previous marriage, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna. Kody legally adopted those children later on, making them Browns in name and in law. What if Robyn brought more than 3 children into this family? Stay with me here. In season 4, there is an odd conversation in which Robyn talks about her past. She says that she feels incredible guilt over choices she made that affected someone who had no say in the matter. The other wives exchange a look. Kody turns the subject away immediately. What decision? Who had no say? Then there's the purity speech that Robyn gives her daughters, that infamous moment where she refers to giving away pieces of her heart. But wrapped up in that cringe-worthy metaphor is something else entirely. She says, I gave away something I can never get back, and it affected more than just me. More than just her? More than just her and her ex-husband? Could she be referring to a child? Here is what we know for sure. In 2007, at the time of Robyn's divorce, she lived in a small town in Montana. Medical records from that county show a Jane Doe giving birth in July of that year at the local hospital, a common practice for women seeking privacy. The timing fits perfectly with the period when Robyn was conspicuously absent from social media, from her family's accounts, from any record whatsoever. Now, could this Jane Doe be a completely different person? Absolutely. But the coincidences are compelling. The silence of the family. You gotta wonder, why haven't any of the Brown children spoken up? I mean, with 18 kids, well, 18 that we know of, certainly someone would have spilled the secret by now, right? But here's the thing you have to know about the Brown family dynamics. Loyalty is everything. These kids have grown up in a culture where secrets are sacrosanct, where the family name comes before personal truth, and where there are consequences if that code is broken. We've seen it play out on camera. When Leon came out as transgender, the initial response of the family was a protective silence until Leon was ready to share their truth. When Michael T got engaged, the family circled wagons around their privacy. When Gwendolyn started speaking out about family dysfunction, she was subtly but definitely ostracized. The message is clear. Family secrets stay in the family, but cracks are starting to appear. That same year, 2023, Christine's daughter Gwendolyn started a Patreon where she talks about family truths that never made it to air. One post vaguely referenced a sibling situation that's complicated and family members we don't talk about publicly. She deleted the post when pressed by subscribers and never addressed it again. What was she about to tell? Then there's Peyton Brown, Christine's son, who has never shied away from a chance to stir the pot on social media. In a since-deleted TikTok video, he responded to one asking about the missing Brown kid with a smirk and the words, "Some stories aren't mine to tell." Yeah. That one word insinuates everything. There is a story, there is something to be told, and the truth is simply waiting. Financial forensics. Let's follow the money, since money always tells a story. The Browns have been pretty upfront about their financial struggles. We watch them navigate bankruptcies, bad business decisions, and the astronomical costs of maintaining a plural family. But when you dig into the actual court documents, expense reports, and financial disclosures, there are anomalies that just don't quite fit the narrative. Item 1. Kody's 2013 tax returns reflect a dependent exemption for someone identified only as J. Brown, none of the documented children. It appeared on his taxes for 3 years in a row before completely disappearing. Item 2. In the bankruptcy filings, there's a notation about child support payments going to an account in Wyoming. None of the Brown wives have ever lived in Wyoming. Robyn's ex-husband doesn't live in Wyoming. So who's receiving these payments? Item 3. My sister wife's closet, that ill-fated jewelry business, had a silent partner. Someone who invested $50,000 into the company, but whose name was redacted from all public documents. The investment was labeled Family Trust, but when researchers tried to trace the trust, they hit a dead end. Who invests that kind of money and wants to remain completely anonymous? Perhaps someone with a vested interest in the family's success. Someone who's technically family but can't be publicly acknowledged? And the financial trail is cold, but it's there, buried in plain sight among thousands of documents, waiting for someone to connect the dots. The insider testimony. Something remarkable happened in 2022. A former Sister Wives crew member contacted multiple forums about polygamy under a pseudonym, saying their identity had been checked by moderators and their work history checked out. What they shared was illuminating. Here's what they said. During season 5, we were filming a family dinner scene. It took several takes because Kody kept mentioning someone who couldn't be there. After the 4th take, production shut down filming and had a meeting with Kody and all 4 wives. When we came back, the entire conversation had been redirected to a different topic. We were explicitly told to delete any footage from those initial takes. The crew member elaborated. It wasn't the only time. There were several times when someone would mention the situation or a name, and it would be immediately bleeped out, not for swear words, but seemingly for legal reasons. We all signed NDAs, but the implication was clear. There was something or someone that we were not allowed to acknowledge on camera. Now, could this crew member be lying? Absolutely. Could they be misremembering or exaggerating? Possibly. But their account does align with something else we've noticed. The careful editing around certain topics. Watch any episode where the family is discussing in detail their children, count the names mentioned, then count the number of children the family publicly acknowledges. The math works. Mostly. Still, there are those vague references to the kids at home or everyone else that never seem to get specified. It's just a feeling. It's as if the show's editors have somehow perfected the art of acknowledging someone without actually acknowledging them. The catfish conspiracy. Now, let's get into the elephant in the room. Meri's catfishing scandal. For those who don't recall, in 2015, Meri had an emotional affair with a person whom she thought was a man named Sam. That turned out to be a woman catfishing her, collecting intimate photos and voice messages that were later leaked online. It was devastating. It nearly destroyed Meri's relationship with Kody and caused massive rifts in the family. But here's what never made sense about that whole situation. Why was Meri so vulnerable in the first place? She's been vague about her emotional state during that period, mentioning feeling disconnected from the family and struggling with unresolved issues. But what issues? Her fertility problems were already well documented on the show. Her strained relationship with Kody was obvious to viewers. What if it was something deeper? Something which had caused a basic break in trust between Meri and the rest of the family? Well, here's one theory that's been going around. What if Meri knew about the secret child? What if she was coerced into silence about it, and the weight of that secret, added to everything else, conspired to have her reach out for connection outside of their family unit? In some of those leaked voice messages of the catfishing scandal, there's this one place where Meri says the weirdest thing. She talks about carrying secrets that aren't mine to carry, and feeling like she's protecting people who wouldn't protect me. At the time, everyone assumed she was talking about Kody's favoritism towards Robyn. But what if it was something more specific? Something that had been eating at her for years? And here's the kicker. After the catfishing scandal broke, Robyn was the most vocal in defending Meri, insisting the family needed to rally around her and remember what's truly important. It was uncharacteristic for Robyn, who's usually more concerned with her own position in the family. Unless Robyn had something to gain from Meri's continued silence. Unless there was a mutual understanding between them, an unspoken secret that bound them together, even when everything else was falling apart. Mystery of Coyote Pass. Fast forward to the Coyote Pass saga. For those keeping track, Coyote Pass is the large property in Arizona that the Browns bought with the intentions of building forever homes. Homes that, as of 2024, still haven't been built. There were 5 parcels to the property. Yes, 5. Not 4, one for each wife. 5. Kody claimed the 5th parcel was for a common space, maybe a community building. But the paperwork tells a very different story. The lot has specific residential zoning, and according to county records, utility hookups were installed in 2020, hookups designed for a full residence. For whom? It gets interesting when you see who has the deed for that 5th parcel. It's not in Kody's name. It's not in any of the wives' names. It's held in a trust called the Family Future Trust, set up in 2019, with a trustee whose identity is sealed by court order. Sealed by court order. When does that happen? When there's a minor involved. When there's a custody situation. When there's a legal reason why someone's identity must be protected. Could that 5th parcel be intended for the secret child? Could it be held in trust until they come of age? Is this how the Brown family makes sure this mystery person has a place in the family legacy? Even if they can't acknowledge them publicly, the timeline would make sense. If there was, say, a child born in 2007, around the time of Robyn's mysterious missing years, they'd be 17 or 18 now. Old enough to begin making plans for their future. Old enough to take their first tentative steps into the public eye. Which brings us to the most important question. Why the secrecy? Let's step back and ask the fundamental question. Why would the Brown family hide a child? What's one more kid in a family already living a controversial, non-traditional lifestyle on national television? They've been open about their struggles, their conflicts, even their most embarrassing moments. So what could possibly be so shameful, so dangerous, or so legally complicated that they go to these lengths to keep someone hidden? Perhaps the child is the result of a relationship that has legal implications. Perhaps there is a custody agreement that forbids media exposure. Perhaps there is an adoption situation still contested. Perhaps there are child welfare concerns that require confidentiality. This would explain the sealed court documents, the NDAs, and the extreme measures taken to keep this person out of the public eye. The Browns left their fundamentalist community in Utah in part because of their decision to go public with their lifestyle. But what if there's an element to their story that would make them pariahs, even within the plural marriage community? What if the secret child represents a violation of the religious principles they claim to uphold? What if acknowledging this person would undermine everything they've built? Here's a possibility we haven't fully explored. What if the secret child simply doesn't want to be known? What if they're living a completely separate life, maybe raised by other family members, or in a different community entirely, and the Browns are simply respecting their wishes? This would be the most benign explanation. It would also be the hardest to verify, because everyone involved would have a legitimate reason for their silence. But there's one more possibility. One that's darker and more disturbing than all the others. The darkest theory. Content warning. The following section covers child welfare concerns. What if the secret child is being hidden because something went wrong? What if there was a situation that required intervention from Child Protective Services? What if there's a reason, a serious, tragic reason, why this person can't be part of the family's public narrative? We know the Browns have had run-ins with authorities over their plural lifestyle. We know there have been investigations. We know that sometimes fundamentalist families face scrutiny regarding the welfare of their children. What if during one of these investigations something was discovered? What if a child had been removed from the home and placed elsewhere? What if the Browns have been fighting in family court and behind closed doors to maintain some connection with a child they can never publicly claim? This would explain the sealed legal documents, financial payments to recipients unknown, the cryptic references to complicated situations, the extreme emotional responses when certain subjects are addressed, the apparent guilt and pain that occasionally flashes across the adults' faces when they think cameras aren't watching. If this is the case, and let me underscore, this is mere speculation, not confirmed fact, then this is more than a scandal. It is a tragedy. A lost child to the system, a family torn asunder by circumstance, and a secret that's been eating away at this family from the inside out. It would recontextualize everything we've watched for the past 14 years. Every argument about loyalty, every discussion about what it means to be a family, every moment of tension between the wives. It would all come back to that. The lost child, the child they cannot talk about, the child that haunts their every decision. The recent developments. By the end of 2024, the Brown family is in disarray. Christine left Kody in 2021. Janelle and Kody have separated. Meri was officially released from the marriage. Only Robyn remains, the sole wife in what was once a bustling plural family. And in the midst of all this dissolution, in the midst of all these public endings, there's been silence about the one thing that might explain it all. That silence is starting to crack. In November 2024, Gwendolyn Brown wrote on her Patreon, "Some truths are coming. Not from me, but they're coming. And when they do, a lot of things are going to make sense." 2 weeks later, Janelle posted about healing from things I'm not allowed to discuss publicly and looking forward to a time when all truths can be told. What are they waiting for? What's keeping them from speaking out now? The most likely answer is legal agreements are expiring. NDAs have time limits. Court-ordered sealing of documents usually lasts until a minor reaches adulthood. If there were a secret child born in 2007, that child would be 18 years old in 2025. Old enough to make their own decisions. Old enough to tell their own story. Which means we might be on the cusp of the biggest Sister Wives reveal ever. The evidence no one can ignore. Allow me to introduce one last bit of evidence, the piece that finally convinced me there's something real behind all of this speculation. In 2023, a woman claiming to be a Brown family relative posted in a genealogy forum. She's been filling out her family tree and had noticed some discrepancies between the records on the Brown family. Specifically, she mentioned that a variety of official records from the family showed 19 children, while the show and public statements consistently say 18 children. She asked for clarification. The thread was deleted within 24 hours, but not before several other genealogists had also viewed it and launched their own inquiries. What they traced was a pattern of discrepancies through various databases. LDS church records showing 19 children. Census data that doesn't quite match the public statements. School enrollment records from Las Vegas with an additional Brown child. Nevada medical records with a Brown J. Born 2007, every single one of these records was subsequently corrected or had access restricted. Someone was actively scrubbing the public record. Why? What's so crucial about keeping that fiction alive that someone would go to such trouble and erase evidence? The truth is out there, so where does this leave us? With more questions than answers. With a mystery tantalizingly close to being solved, but still just out of reach. Is there a secret Brown child? The evidence suggests. Maybe. Probably. Possibly. Is it Robyn's child from her marriage to Kody? Hidden to protect them from scrutiny? Is it a child from before any of the marriages? Grown and living their own life? Is it something darker? A child lost to the system that the family grieves in silence? We may never know the full truth. Or, we may be at the cusp of the most enormous revelation in Sister Wives history. What I believe is this, there is something. Not necessarily a literal secret child, but something as either fact or codified through online speculation as a secret child that lies at the core of this family that has not been told. The evidence is too consistent. The reactions too visceral, the legal machinations too suspect. Something was, somebody is, something has been buried. And if the recent social media posts are any indication, that truth is just about to come out. When it does, it will rewrite everything we thought we knew about Sister Wives. It will make us rewatch every episode with new eyes. It'll explain all that tension and conflict that never quite made sense. It will reveal the real reason this family fell apart. Not that families don't just crumble over jealousy and favoritism. They crumble under the weight of secrets too heavy to bear. The question isn't whether the truth will come out. The question is, are we ready for what we're about to learn? Are we ready to find out that the family we followed for 14 years had hidden something very essential from the very beginning? Are we ready to face the real story that's behind Sister Wives? Stay tuned. The secret is about to be revealed. And when it is, nothing will ever be the same. What happens next if you've made it this far? Thanks for taking this journey into one of the most enduring mysteries reality TV has to offer. Is everything I have presented here confirmed fact? No. Is some of it speculation? Undoubtedly. But it is speculation based on real inconsistencies, real evidence, and real questions that have never been adequately answered. The Brown family has every right to their privacy. If there's a child they've chosen to protect from the spotlight, that's not only their right, but perhaps the most responsible decision they could make. But it's also true that they've constructed a public brand, made money off of publishing their lives, and touted themselves as an open book. When there are obvious discrepancies in that book, when pages have been ripped out and the narrative threads don't quite mesh, people take notice. We notice, and we ask questions. So let me leave you with this. Go back and watch the old episodes. Look for the moments that don't quite fit. Listen for the names that get mentioned and then are never mentioned again. Pay attention to who's absent from family photos, who seems uncomfortable when certain topics come up. It's out there in plain sight. In fact, if only someone can put it all together. Maybe that someone is you. Or perhaps, just perhaps, the secret child is about to come into view.